Hello and welcome to The Gist. I'm your host, Chris Vetrano, here to break down all the things happening in pop culture and interviewing the people that make it pop. Today, we have a super special guest who has the city of Charleston in a chokehold. She not only runs some of the most popular nightlife and restaurant establishments on King Street, but she's also the queen of hospitality and charm. Starring in Bravo's Southern Hospitality and Southern Charm, please welcome to The Gist, Leva Bonaparte. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for having me, Chris. Chokehold.
You have
like savage.
I know. Well, I mean, you're taking over King Street. I was just in Charleston for the first time in November.
Oh, nice.
I brought like 20 of my friends for my 40th birthday, and
wow.
we had to, of course, hit up all the spots. And I was like, why is this called King Street? It should just be Republic Street at this point.
Well, I love that. I appreciate that.
I mean,
it really is. I mean, I think Republic really, it sounds so cheesy, but it's really like, I think they say that in the promo or something. It's like the cornerstone or something, but it really is. It's like sort of the bigger spot of King. And then people, Charleston's a really like jump around city, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like they bob to friends. They're like, we're at Lamar's. No, we're at Bourbon and Bubbles. No, we're down at Republic, kind of deal.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing. And you have more stuff opening too in Charleston. I mean, you really have this is why you have the city in the chokehold.
Yeah. I actually the other day came home from doing both reunions, and I was like, my son wanted to spend time and I wanted to be really present, and I had to like go to the bathroom and have a good cry because I was like, I just need a minute from like airplane to mom mode to, oh my gosh, we're opening another spot this month and 2 weeks. So yeah, there are days where I'm like, everyone's like, how do you do it? I'm like, I get up and I just do it. I don't know. It's a shit show. If you were to actually see like the bowels of the back end of me, like, having a breakdown and then just being like, go, 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 and then breakdown, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and then you're also playing double duty on Bravo in both shows, all about Charleston. I mean, so really, how do you do it all? And I think the question is, you came on the show on Southern Charm several years ago, but you came on with already these really established businesses. And so, whereas like a lot of the people on the shows are using the platform to sort of launch businesses and kind of catapult their careers from there. Yeah. Was there any trepidation about joining the show given the success that you had already had?
Yeah, a lot, actually. Because, for me, while some of the OGs were sort of like running around doing the Bravo thing for a decade, I was busting my ass.
Yeah.
So, and having a child and getting married and like just doing all the things. And so I had a lot to risk coming in. It was the businesses that were, I call them like, my secondary babies. There's my baby, there's my family, there's a lot of stuff. I had a lot to risk. I wasn't just like, falling into a show and then falling into a collaboration and falling into, and no shade to anybody who leverages the show well. That in itself is its own, beast and great for them. But yeah, it's, I came in a very different way and I had to weigh the pros and cons, and I still do every season. I kind of like look at it and go, okay, what is the main goal here? Because I'm really, really about, anybody who knows me really well knows that like I don't have FOMO. I've gone to therapy. I am definitely have a temper. So I don't want to say I'm not reactive because I am working on that.
Yeah.
But I don't like to make any decisions in my life, like just without, my dad always told me when I was small, he's like, with every like strong yes comes like 10 no's because the sacrifice, right? So if you really lean into something, there are a lot of sacrifices in order for you to lean into it properly. Like, we don't just do shit to do shit, kind of family, it's with intention. So I always like to reevaluate, why I'm doing things. Every year, everyone's like, all right, so what about next year? I'm like, we don't know about next year. I got to sit down with my intention. They're like, what? Would you not do next year? I'm like, I don't know. We got to sit down with intention, really decide and evaluate. Just like any business, you got to like what's my return on investment, time, mental space, like all the things. So it's, I think for people who are friends with me, they find it very chaotic because I'm really not married to anything but my husband and my child.
Yeah.
But everything is with intention. And I try to make sure that it's like not with some other inner thing. It's not meeting some other like inner thing, like an ego or I'm going to prove to I really want it to be like what I want to be doing. So not to get too deep on you, but that's really how I try to make every decision. And I think it's a really healthy way to also like run businesses because it's not with ego. It's like, okay, does the money make sense? Is it giving me joy? Is it doing these things? Or so anyone knows doing anything takes a lot of effort. I'm sure just sitting there with your podcast, it's like, okay, this takes a lot of time. Yeah, it looks easy to other people. It looks like it's seamless, but it's not. It takes a team. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of, mental space, mental bandwidth. And so you have to evaluate what's what. So
And
long-winded answer.
No, it's all good. I love it. I am curious because you play this like, or you say you play as if you're a character, you're on reality TV, but you are the voice of reason often for a lot of the cast members, especially on Charm. I think obviously you play a very different role on Hospitality. Yes. But do you do that as you're talking in intention, do you do that intentionally because of your reputation and because of your brands, or is that just who you are?
So I wish I could say that I was, and a lot of people I think look at my castmates are always like, Leva's so calculated. I'm like, I'm literally mom brain. I'm just walking into the room, hoping y'all don't piss me off, trying to have a good time. I really do walk into the space like on Charm to have fun with my friends. And although the viewer doesn't see me having a ton of fun, I do. I have fun with them. They make me laugh. There's some of that. There's a few I adore. There's a few that are like a pain, like little brothers, like a pain in my ass. Like if you were to see our group thread, it's like me flipping out at them from time to time and then being like, one of them getting mad and like leaving the thread and me dragging them back to the thread and being like, come on, get back over here. We're not finished, So it's just like stuff like that. And you don't always see it a lot in Charm because I think that my role on Charm is more the, like you said, the voice of reason. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think the voice of reason really just comes out. I don't walk in going, oh, I need to be the voice of reason. It's actually, I get irritated. Like I just sit there and I go, 45 minutes, nothing is landing. It's like this person's like, it's like the planes are just like, and it's again and again and again. And I'm like, I can't take this. I need to go home to my kid. What she's saying is this. What he's saying is this. Can we figure it out? So that's why it's like I'm the voice of reason, but it comes out never like with calmness and like there's no, I kind of come in like hard because it's generally the voice of reason decides to join the group because I get frustrated, and sometimes it comes from compassion too, because like they're my friends and I can see one's not always able to articulate exactly what they're feeling, or the other one's kind of being hard on the other one. And sometimes it comes from a place of empathy where I'm like, oh, I hate this. Like I adore you guys and I get what both feelings are valid. So it really it's so just me being me. And I always say, like, I advise to my demise. Like, I can be annoying for that. Like, I can be annoying for jumping into a conversation, but it either comes from frustration or empathy. And it's just me having a nice dinner with my friends and then just being, all right, okay. And I think they've just placed me there. So.
Yeah. And you came on the show as a friend of Cam, who also played kind of that role. Like, she was kind of a peacekeeper. She kind of kept the boys in line. That was kind of her role. Are you guys still in touch today? Are you guys still close? Does she keep up in that group?
I don't think there's any bad blood. We're friendly. We've just sort of like grown apart. And as silly as it sounds, it's her kid goes to one school. I homeschool. I live in one area. And it's like my mom gang is separate from her mom gang. And like, so it's just like you end up crossing paths and it's not the way it once was when we were roommates and we did everything together. And then when she moved out, it was like friendship. Now, when you become a mom, it becomes like your social time is also your kid's social time. And so, I think we're both sort of in that space. And I think we're slowly, our kids are hitting like 7, hopefully can reignite some of those older friendships and get them back into the mix. And,
Yeah, and I feel like also there must be some, there's new cast members that join. The show has obviously evolved so much over the years. This show has been on for so long, and we've seen people come and go. You also are filming with them, and so you have to kind of make time for these new relationships in your life too. So it's hard when someone's not on the show anymore to still make time
to
and
have
prioritize
that investment
them.
of time. My investment of time is so small already.
Yeah.
Like it's funny because some of the cast will text and they're like, "Hey, just don't want you to feel left out. We know you're not coming, but we want to let you know." And I'll like FaceTime and be like, "Hey, are you guys having fun?" And sometimes like I'll go, but even that in itself is difficult because with the businesses, and I'm also in a season in my life where I really I might have a year or two where my kid still wants me to like read him a book before he goes to sleep and put him to bed. And I don't want to lose out on that. I have one child. I get one chance to do this, and I don't want to have any regrets in that department. So I always say like I have not been the best of friends, although my friends probably disagree, but like I'm not necessarily like the friend I would love to be and show up to all the things, but like I do my best. And I think people who know me just know that my Lamars come first, but I definitely try to support and be there. But yeah, it's just like there's just so much time. And I think but the old friendships, I feel like they're just, my mom used to call them like she used to call them core friends. Like they just don't go away because they're in your formative years and can always rekindle them.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that as viewers too, we are also accepting of that because of, you do have, little, and you have your family and you have all of these businesses, and we see all of that playing out. And so like when you don't show up on the, Bahamas trip, I don't feel like the viewers are turning like, oh, why is she isolating from the group? Whereas like if other people like, I think on hospitality, you see that a little bit with like Will and Emmy and like when they don't show up to certain things, it's like, oh, they're isolating. There's something wrong. There's something going on. You never really get that because I think people must in your life like just accept like she's got a lot going on and like this just doesn't make sense.
Totally. And I also want to normalize it too. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to fake it out and be like, the few vacations I do get to take, I'm going to take without my husband and kid with like all my other friends. Nobody in the world is doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. I and it definitely is like, you're not in 2 episodes. It diminishes your relevance in terms of like fourth wall. It's like, it diminishes a lot of things, but it's like, I also don't want to normalize because like in my real life with my partner, we tried to, I would maybe take a girls' trip, but I really wouldn't take like a trip with a bunch of single people without my husband. That's just not I like to say our family culture.
Yeah.
Not for a reason of like, oh, there's all these like, that my husband would be like jealous or call. It's just, just keeps things simpler, and life is difficult enough that I just don't need to add a perspective of any type of mental stress. And like, 3-4 days, I would much rather be with my family, or if my family came, and it just would be really different. Like, let's just keep it, I like to say, real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's sort of why.
I think it makes sense for you, but I think they also could have used you on that trip. I think you need to step in and help Shep like navigate his romance and his love life and, all of the
they don't film us together, but I actually am very like good with Shep. I think I understand Shep more than anybody on that cast because I come from a family that has held me to really high standards. I'm very hard on myself. I generally try to like package that in like everything's fine, everyone, let's be happy, none of this really matters. Like I think I understand Shep more than a lot of the cast members in the sense of like the way he communicates, some of his like internal, I don't want to say demons, but struggles. And he's a generally good-hearted guy. Like I will give him that. And I think he is one of the realest cast members because he's literally just being himself, to like the good and the bad, you know? But yeah, they don't film as much of that. And I think there's times I can be helpful because we were just at green screens. He's like, Leva, saw this girl, I matched with her. Like, what do you think? You know what I mean? So we do have a lot of those little chats, and maybe at some point they'll lean into that. But
you know. He needs it. So I'm glad to hear that that's something you're providing. Now, switching gears a little bit to hospitality, because I've been
Nice.
watching it from the beginning, and
Thank you.
it's like this year, it's really the it girl of Bravo. Like it has really like come into its own.
Yeah.
It's definitely like ushering this new sort of space where Vanderpump sort of once lived.
Right.
I'm curious though, because, you know, for me as a viewer with like a Vanderpump Rules, it lost its sort of authenticity at some point when the cast became famous. And then we were like, we don't believe that you're still slumming it at the bar and things like that.
Right.
Have you already thought of like those steps ahead of like, as the show continues, like how do we evolve these characters so that it doesn't come off inauthentic?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff like that you have to do sort of fourth wall and behind the scenes. And I think that to maintain that, I think that with our show, the difference is like they were never slumming. They make quite a bit of money considering what it costs to live here. Yeah. So, you know, they definitely were not as independent. Like half of them, their parents still pay their cell phone bills and like their car notes, but they're making a good little chunk of change for being that young. And I'm talking like, you know, 100 grand plus, like for that age, that's pretty good, you know, like just in
Charleston's expensive.
Yeah. But they're still able to live a pretty good little life. And then, you know, they work their butts off for a couple of days and then they take off and go to Tulum or take off and go to Miami and do whatever they're doing because like they have no responsibility. Right. You know, it's very different when you have like house insurance and mortgages and all the things. Like for that amount of money, you can have a nice little rented whatever home and they can live a pretty good life. So it was never like there was a struggle for these kids. Because it's a hospitality city and people make pretty good money in hospitality, considering it is expensive to live in Charleston, but it's not LA expensive. Right. So yeah, they live a pretty good little life. And then the other side of it is that I think with Vanderpump, you know, LA is not really like a hospitality necessarily like city. Charleston is like hospitality. People want to open restaurants. They want to, you know, be in hospitality. They want to be VPs of, you know, these big restaurant groups. They it's something to aspire to work in the big hotels and like it's a pretty good, it's the biggest industry we have here, right? So it's like either that, doctor, lawyer, realtor, you know, and real estate's a big thing. So yeah, I have some thoughts and definitely like I like to show the staff growing in the business because there's servers, there's, you know, there's head servers, there's managers, there's a management space, we're a restaurant group. So I would love to lean into more of like the corporate side because we work by day. There's a whole corporate office that's working all day. There's a social media team, there's all that stuff. And so I don't want it to just stay front of the house. And I really do communicate a lot with them that as the show grows, as their platform grows, what do they want to do with us? You know what I mean? How do they want to grow with us? And TJ is a perfect example of that, you know, I want them to sort of stand on my shoulders and kind of do their own thing. But for example, now, like, it's not just the Sir Wieners where he is doing that on, you know, every second Sunday and he has his cart and everything, but then he has his cart on Republic. We actually serve all his hot dogs at our place, Lamar's, and we serve it in like a tower with like sparklers. It's become a big, huge viral thing. People like clamor to it. Like it's a big thing that people love. So there are ways to synergize the efforts to keep it authentic because Lord knows, and every producer that's worked with me knows, I can't be fake. So for me, it's, you know, I guess the fakest part of me that a viewer could see is the edit. Like I'm edited down, but I'm not, you know, by any means being not who I am. And I'm not good at that. And it gives me anxiety. And so I am, I'm sure producers kind of find me a little irritating because I'm just like, okay, so this is how we think that this should go. I'm already, you know, I'm already sort of I'm a 10 steps ahead girl. So, I don't want that. I also come to win at everything, you know? Yeah. So clearly I want the show to have longevity. Like I definitely was slow and steady. You know, the kids always make the joke of like Leva and Lamar, they move like lasagna. Like you don't know what they're doing and poof, a new space opens. Poof, and you know. Yeah. And that's what we do. We really like nose to the grind. Like we really, really hustle hard and quietly. But like I said, we're both too, we always say we don't do stuff to do stuff. We do it to like really win at it. And if we're not winning at it, we pivot, we do something else, you know?
Yeah.
So I definitely have a lot of wheels turning and ideas that I can't necessarily talk about here, but
right. Of course.
There's a lot there.
I love that you are thinking about it, because I think that that's also the thing that, you know, hospitality brings that we haven't seen a ton of on Bravo is like, you know, on Vanderpump Rules, there was never really like a main LGBT storyline that like came from the beginning and feels really authentic. And like, you know, we're seeing
so
like
shocking too, like in WeHo, I would have thought, but like, I'm not a California person, so I don't really know, but like, I guess in my mind, I was always like, wait, there should be more.
Yeah. And I mean, you have one of the like most culturally diverse casts, and there's so much happening, and, you know, we're getting to know Michael's story, and obviously we've been following TJ and then what TJ and Joe are going through this year. And like, these are things that we just haven't seen on TV before or on Bravo and these kinds of shows. And so it's like, it's really enriching. And I think that like, I love it. And I think the irony is like when we were there, we were like, oh, where's the gay bars in Charleston? It was like, oh, there's one. And it's everyone was like, don't go there. Everyone we asked us, don't go there. So I was like, okay, well, so that it will be the thing that I would say, maybe if you're thinking about what's next for you, maybe, you know, a nice gay bar would be great to add to the mix.
I mean, we really have thought about it. The thing is like the culture in Charleston, don't get me wrong. And we do love the gay bar. So I'm definitely going to say like, we love them. They're great. I think they're doing a great job. It's definitely not like other cities. You know what I mean? So I think definitely people are like, oh no, we don't have that. But one thing I do, and I want to say this, like, I definitely think, and I spoke to my makeup artist about like the idea of gay bars and why, you know, we were trying to do drag brunches at Republic. And I think it's really important with anyone that I like to call like not the mainstream. Like I always say I'm an other, you know, like I'm Persian, I'm, you know, like I'm an other. And I always talk to my other friends that live slightly differently. And I would say like, why can't we all just be in one bar? You know, like why can't it just be everyone's in one bar? Why do we need a bar specifically, you know,
for us?
And he said to me, well, it's safety. It's a space where we feel safe. It's a space where we feel like we can be completely ourselves. And it's like, it's those conversations that I think I've had with my gay friends or my bi friends or my friends, just, you know, my friends that are different, my Black friends, you know what I mean? Like the stories that aren't told. And I think that it does circle back to why this show was so important to me. I was like, I don't just want like what the gay guy we always see on TV. I want you to tell the real story, because these kids have real freaking stories, and they're not the same, and their journeys are not the same, and the struggles are not the same. And this generation, it's so complicated and this city is complicated because we don't have the gay. We don't, everyone's just together, which is a slightly beautiful thing, also a complicated thing. Also, you know, you have to have these conversations because we're all out together. And like, I had to hear like, what, you know, do you feel like that's missing? Do you feel not safe? You know what I mean? Like, these are important conversations because I needed to understand why you need all that. And, you know, and it was just conversations like, oh, okay, so, you know, what bathroom do you use? And in a bar that isn't a gay bar, would somebody be weird about somebody using a different bathroom? And so I had to hear that because when we built Republic, it's really funny. My hairdresser, Mac, we met years ago, 15 years ago. I was dating Lamar, and he was a hairdresser new to Charleston. And we would go out, and he's tattooed up. He kind of looks, if you don't talk to him, he looks like a straight guy. But then once you talk to him, you know, he kind of indicates that. Anyway, I said, I need to build a place for us. Like, I need to just build a place for us where we feel people don't stare at us when we walk in, you know, like both look different for here. And, you know, and that's sort of like how Republic was born. And I really wanted the staff to reflect that, because when the staff reflects that, then different people feel safe when they walk in the door. You know, people feel heard. They feel like their safety is important because the staff reflects the patron. You know, if I could have even more diversity, I can't force people to come and, you know, apply, but those things are really important. And so when you say that, like, it's such a that's such a conversation in itself, like, and
it's true.
And
I think
what makes for the show, right? It's like there's a ton of staff that is representative of different lifestyles and different choices and different everything.
But no, I think, and the thing that I noticed is I never felt unsafe in Charleston, and with my friends and my husband, and like, we went to Republic and TJ was behind the bar, and like, it felt like a place. And I actually am not a big gay bar fan, but I understand the safety element. But I think that, like, when you hear like, oh, there's not a lot of gay bars, or there's only one in Charleston, then you're like, well, is there a reason? But I think because it's a hospitality industry, there's also that sort of breeds that sort of welcome feeling everywhere you go. And so it's been,
I mean, that's what I hope. I hope that like all my spaces, because all of our friends, we're all different. We all walk into spaces, and some of the spaces feel like, but that was like almost 10 years ago. Now it's just like everybody. I mean, 10 years ago, it looked weird if you had tattoos. Like that was uncommon. If you weren't wearing like a belt with like fishes on it and like had a spoof haircut or something. There was a look to Charleston, but now it's become so different. So many people moving here, and it's something I go back and forth on, and definitely this element of safety and like community is really important. But also, like, I do love that, all of them. Like, I have a friend, she's a drag queen, and her name's Brooke, and she's super tall and always done up, and she's in Republic, and everyone's like, Brooke, and she just looks like this super Amazonian tall, like Barbie. Anyway, but she'll walk in there, and she loves it there, and she gets all the attention and love, and she's like a part of the family. And so I think for, it's always an interesting conversation. I definitely want all my spaces to feel like everyone should be in there, and they can be their full self, but it's conversations I have with my friends. Like, is there something I can change? Has there ever been anything that felt weird for you? Or, you know what I mean? So, but I think that's what falls into the show. And that was when we talked about the show. I was like, TJ's my Stassi. And they were like, what? What are you talking about? And
I love that.
Like, he wants the whole, white picket fence and like all the things. And they were just like completely confused. So, all that stuff is, bleeds into the show. And I think that that's like a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've done something really special with the show. And, I love, as a viewer, getting to watch it, love getting to see you on Southern Charm, double dose of Leva. You've been someone that I've been targeting for the podcast for a while, because I was like, I want to talk to Leva. There's so much about business, and you're doing so many things that are just so relevant. And so I love that I was able to have you stop by today. Before you go, tell us, where can people find you? Where can they stay up to date? And whether it's restaurants, shows, etc.
Well, they can definitely find me on Instagram, Leva Bonaparte. Bonaparte on TikTok. I have a little more fun on that side. I mean, they can find me on King.
Yes.
And we have all our spots. We're opening a new place called Zach Stacks this month, and that's been inspired by one of our employees named Zach, who had childhood cancer when he was really young, and he had a 10% chance of survival. He lost his leg to cancer, but he's a huge part of our team. And now, basically the inspiration for Zach Stacks. And we're sort of committing to with Make-A-Wish. Make-A-Wish really made a difference for him. So we're committing to do a partnership with Make-A-Wish, hopefully a few Make-A-Wishes a year out of that space. And he loves a frozen drink. So we're doing that. And then I'm opening a store in the back, which, is coming soon. I'll do a big reveal.
Announce. Okay, awesome.
Something very Charlestonian in the back. Yeah.
Love that. Well, Leva, thank you so much for your time. We can't wait to continue watching you. I know you guys just filmed the reunion, so we've got lots to see. And then more seasons to come, I hope, but we'll see.
Yes,
it's up to you.
I hope so. Thanks so much for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Hopefully next time we'll have longer. Talk to you soon.
Yes, please. Guys, that was so much fun. getting to chat with Leva. She really has her finger on the pulse of what's going on. If you have not been to Charleston, let me tell you guys, it was one of the most fun. I had never been. I wanted to go for my 40th. I felt like Charleston was going to be my vibe, obviously loving the shows, having seen kind of the city through the cast's view for the last many years. We're on like season 9 of these shows, but I was just so thrilled to see that like the city is full of life. And actually Joe and I, while we were there, started saying like, oh, well, we might move here. Like this might be like our next home at some point. And so we really, really love Charleston, and Leva really just does. I love that she called me out on having a chokehold on Charleston, because she does. She really does. She when you go and you see like it's just like bang, 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 all these places that are hers, and they're some of the hottest spots in town. And so it was great to see that. But she really has her finger on the pulse for not only the city, but also, you know, inclusivity, and the fact that she comes from a different background. And I loved her story about Republic, and that the fact of how it sort of came to be. I loved it. I just loved chatting with her. She is such a joy. But you guys, Southern Charm is, of course, a great Bravo show, and we get to see Leva and, you know, all of our favorites there. But if you are not watching Southern Hospitality, what are you doing? Because it is truly, I called it the It Girl in our interview. It truly is. It is the show to watch right now. If you loved Vanderpump Rules in the early days, it's giving that plus more. This group of kids is so, and I call them kids, I think we're close in age and some of them, but they're just amazing for television. And one thing I didn't get to ask Leva, we ran out of time, but I wanted to say, like, what's going on with Grace Lilly? Like, why aren't we seeing her on our screen more? And I needed to know, because Grace Lilly is a star. If you guys have watched this season and seen the Vegas wedding, we'll call it, and her just sobbing because she thinks that the wedding is real, it's too much. She is a star, and she needs more screen time, in my opinion. And so, yeah, so Southern Hospitality, if you are not watching it, do it now. But that brings us to the end of this episode. I want to thank Leva for joining, all of you for listening, and until next time, bye.